Steiny. You can't say what we were talking about off the air.
Oh, I don't even.
Oh,
yeah,
you didn't
I
hear.
think he was listening. I heard you. I heard you. I got you. I got you,
What's up, baby?
Ever since you called me nosy,
that bothers
I
you.
try to stick
Wow.
keep my nose out. Oh, we've
Nosy
been
by nature, Diz.
Yeah, that's a 4. That's a 4.
Steiny nosy?
He's actually as far from nosy as anyone I've ever actually called a good friend.
Dude, I told him
I could be wrong.
I started last Friday show, which was payday. The boss did me a favor, did me a solid. This dude went out 40 minutes during the show.
That's
like he needed to know what happened. I go, the boss helped the brother
That's
out.
just curiosity.
That's nosy.
That sounds better than nosy.
Yeah.
Well, it could. I mean, things that are going on with you could affect him.
Exactly. Because we're
Things
a team.
that go on with me don't affect him, so he doesn't even.
Speaking of you,
text me back.
okay.
You know.
Wow.
You're
Red.
not that guy.
Yeah, that's Garoppolo.
One of a kind.
That's Garoppolo right over
Boy.
there. You got to see him if you want to talk to him.
Real quick,
No, I'm
Willard,
kidding.
you
I'm
came
kidding.
here yesterday from the Farhan presser.
Yeah.
I'm in the bed, getting ready to close the eyes, and my man Farhan goes on Netflix and talks about the bear and what he likes to watch in
Netflix.
episode 8 and
I was
3.
like-
I'm like, dude, do you understand the gravity of what the hell's going on? It's falling on. I don't know, Will. Wasn't good. You do that when you're winning and it's cute. The Bear. Oh, do you watch The Bear episode 8? No, you're talking about episode.
Hold
you
on.
missed this.
I don't even know
deal.
what
Well,
you're
here-
talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, okay. The question was asked, and it was kind of, it was hard for me. I kind of tuned out of the answer because I don't watch The Bear. I don't know what The Bear is.
Gotcha.
I'd love to watch it,
Yeah.
but he was making a comp.
Trying to.
Yeah. And by the way, see, here we go. And this is, you defend Farhan. I don't even know really what was going on. He was not. Put it this way. Remember when Gabe would sit in the dugout and they'd be like, why are you batting Slater tonight in the 3-hole? And he'd be like, do you hear that song that's playing right now? This is a great band. That's like, okay, we just went over here to be playful in what some might consider. Farhan was trying to make he was trying to answer a question.
Yeah.
And he was like, you're reminding me of the Bear. And then all of a sudden, it like became this thing where media members were like, yeah, I watched the Bear. Like,
Then it got off the rails.
And Killian was like, it's amazing. But like everyone's. So I think it went on a little bit longer than he meant it to. He was trying to answer the actual question. So I don't know if that helps or hurts, but I
played it for Steiny.
I turned off because I'm like, I don't know what the Bear is. I don't even know what that is. You guys know me. I watch nothing.
I do like that actor, though. Even though I don't watch the show.
I have no idea
Who's
what
the
the Bear
actor?
is.
I think the main guy, it's a guy, and he's been a character actor a lot. But
He dressed up as a bear?
No,
How does this work?
Yeah, that I don't know.
I don't know.
I can't.
I don't
Yeah.
know. But
I don't know.
I know that a lot of people did not love the press conference yesterday. Farhan is not a habitual press conference winner. That's not who he is. And the Larry Bear letter today, also, I thought, I don't think that hit the note either. Here's what I'd say. I hear everybody who didn't like those things, but there is a bottom line to our conversation right now. Farhan is not going anywhere yet, so that's where it is. And none of this is going to matter until we see who they bring in. The words are like,
Manager first.
sit down, have this press conference, and if I'm anyone Giants related, I am now gone. Goodbye, sayonara. We're going to Canada. We're going to Siberia. You're not going to hear from any of us because there's not a damn word anyone can say right now that's going to calm people down until you show up with either a trade or some big free agents or something that matters to people. Yeah. So right now, words are just going to be that.
Even when you hire a manager, it doesn't matter because
that'll be a day. But yeah,
it'll be a day. But I mean, you mentioned it earlier in the week. He's a middle manager, so who cares? And bottom line is, if your team's not better, you could bring in the ghost of Connie Mack, and you're still not winning the World Series.
Except for that he did answer the question. Like, I thought one thing that wasn't discussed much yesterday was it sounded like he was trying to empower whoever the next manager is. It sounded like this is not just somebody who's like making bullpen moves. He talked about the manager as a recruiter.
That's what
somebody who's
sure.
going to inspire. Yeah. That's what they're looking for, what have you. So, and he even spoke about empowering the manager in the decision-making process over analytics when he's here. I don't know if that was strategic or not, but it sounded to me like he was trying to up the importance of the gig. That'll either land or it won't, depending on who it is. And obviously it won't be Bob Melvin. So
man, we saw that.
I don't know how many names is even, are even on the list that could inspire people.
Yeah, Bob Melvin's back in San Diego.
Man,
it's just
good for Bo Mail.
Just out there. So Steiny and Guru, this is the crossover with Willard and Dibs. We got a big game this weekend, guys.
Yeah, big time. Before we get to that, I do want to just one quick shout out to Andrew in Santa Fe, who's a diehard listener. His son is 6. He was diagnosed with bone cancer. Oh. He's got chemo coming up next week, and he's looking for a spirit lifter. So as we transition from the Giants to the Niners, maybe a shout out, maybe a little bit of love for
man, thoughts and prayers. Will.
And I hate to bring it all the way down to that to
it's
a 6-year-old.
Real life.
No.
It's real life. I mean, and Will is 6, and he's got bone cancer, and we all have kids. He's got 3. You got 3. We all have 3.
Man.
Oh my God. We all have 3.
Top of mind as well.
We got 12. I mean, we got 12 in the room.
Listen, Buster Posey does a ton of work for pediatric cancer.
Wow.
As you guys know.
6 girls, 6 boys in the room, too. Wow, man.
I'm hosting an Unravel pediatric cancer event later this month
awesome,
in Mountain
man.
View.
Good for you, brother. Good for you.
We've been working on
Big
that.
Time whoop.
It's top of mind, but I bring it up just to know or just to say maybe to Will, you're in really good company. There are a lot of people working really hard to have your back, and even those of us who haven't met you yet directly, we're thinking about you, and the support is wherever you need. And I do know this in the work that a lot of us are trying to do in pediatric cancer.
Yeah,
my God, an attitude goes a long way.
That's a big deal.
So, Will, keep your spirits up because that's going to help you get better.
Tough to have that tude when you're 6 and you're just trying
that
to
shouldn't even be a thing.
No, dude,
I mean, just think about what you just said. And I tell Steiny daily, I try to, I got a flat tire. This ain't right.
Totally,
my check was off. Dude, that's nothing. And if I were in charge, that wouldn't even be a thing. 6 years old. So thoughts and prayers. And we had an older friend we just met dealing with his own cancer battle, going through chemo, and we got together a couple weeks ago. You came down.
No doubt,
I mean, no doubt. Thoughts and prayers, man.
It affects everybody.
No doubt about it.
My younger son's best friend at 18 had Ewing sarcoma, which is one of the million, arm cancer in the bone, and he was able to keep his arm, and now he's playing D1 soccer at UCSD. Awesome. So shout out Nate Morgan.
Keep us abreast, Dibs.
It's just, so I did want to shout out Andrew, diehard listener, his son Will, before we get into the real important stuff, tongue in cheek. Niners Cowboys, boys. I mean, it's big, and it's Mark and I were talking earlier. He's like, "What are you feeling? What's the lead?" And I'm like, "I'm afraid of this Cowboy defense. That's it."
Guru will talk you down.
No. I'm not worried about double reverse devil tongue and all the rest of it.
We just had Jesse Holly, former Dallas Cowboy receiver on.
He was good.
Yeah, he was
picked
really
the
good.
Niners at the end.
Dallas Cowboy hero.
And he was being real. Mm-hmm. Jerry Jones called the Niners the front runner. So the cake doesn't crumble if somehow the Niners tripped up. Because I got a bulletin. I do believe if they get past this game, and I won't do it, just tell me when they're going to lose.
Well,
Willard, I'm not there yet, but if they were to slip up against a Dallas Cowboy team that they've owned, it's not over.
No,
Dallas needs this way more than the Niners need it.
I agree with that.
There's no doubt.
That I agree with.
Okay, and that's a lot of pressure, Willard.
That's not to diminish the game for
No,
the 49ers at even a little bit.
Niners playing for something bigger, too.
The Niners, I do love what was it Brad Sham earlier this morning?
Yeah, he was on with Bonte
and he said the Niners have a chip on their shoulder based on what has happened the last few years because they feel they should have won one by now, as we all do.
Yes.
So it almost, I think, brings you into the Niner locker room where it's like those of you Super Bowl or bust people, just don't worry. The Niners feel that even more. Do you know what I mean? They're like, we are not going to take any little tiny thing for granted.
Wow.
And they're taking it out on the league. And, man, you hope that they bring that action to Sunday Night Football. Like, this is their first game of the year where it's like, okay, we've grabbed everyone's attention. We're 4-0.
Okay.
But now the world gets to watch, and it's a big stage.
It's
and
Dallas
it's a big
defense.
opponent.
Yeah, they
it's
got
all of that stuff. So the 49ers are going to want to show out. But there is a mental dynamic that has taken place here that does not exist for the 49ers, that exists for the Cowboys. And you know what it is? It's a mini version of what was going on like late 70s, early 80s when the 49ers season ended every year. Because of the damn Cowboys.
Yeah, man.
And now it's shoes on the other foot.
Brody.
And I tell you, it feels good. It feels good to be on the other side of this.
Yeah.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ, FM, and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union.
Steiny came in and blew me away, and a couple texters said, you guys got into this subject matter yesterday. I know how great Christian McCaffrey is, and he's got some great players around him. Steiny was alluding to the usage rate. Like, is it a bit too much? I go, if they can't stop it, there's a reason they can't stop it. Why would you do anything different? But I got a couple texts because I didn't hear you guys yesterday that you guys had broke that down or got into it yesterday. What do you think? Is it too much of McCaffrey too early? Because I'm like, if they can't stop it, why would Kyle do anything else?
It's not too much, and it's not too early because in 3 years, he won't be a Niner. And in 3 years, he'll be 30, and unfortunately, that's going to be the way that goes. And we have to think about running back in terms of, like, not a starting pitcher who's going to pitch till he's 40, or Steph Curry. Oh, maybe he can play till he's 38 or 39 or 40. A running back at 30 falls off the cliff. Almost every single one in history. And we were talking about LT, LaDainian Tomlinson, and his great career and what he was doing in terms of usage. And he got to 30, and it was a wrap, like Saran. And McCaffrey is 26 and a half.
27.
Oh, so he got a few more seasons before 30.
Yeah, but he's
30.
He's like, I know where you're coming from on this, Dibs, because he's got 3 more years on his deal, right up until he's 30.
This year and 2 more.
That right, and then that's also when Brock Purdy's going to, in theory, probably going to right. He's going to be paid a little bit differently in 3 years than he is now. So I don't know how it's going to play out, but I get where you're coming from, saying he's not going to be on the team anymore.
Because that sounds like run him in the ground.
Well,
Dibs.
but I mean, that's like, look at Derrick Henry right now.
Bell.
Derrick Henry's 29. He still looks really good, but you're also watching the Titans go, let's take a foot off the gas a little bit. Get Tajay Spears in there, right? We're going to take our foot off the gas a little bit. So that'll probably happen with Christian. I look at it this way. He is going to be on the team for 2 more years after this one. And I want those to be healthy years too. I don't really know what the difference is on a week in and week out basis if he's got 26 touches versus 22. But over a season, that's 4 touches a game times 17. That's a big number. And I think Christian is the type of guy who could do 420 touches and be fine. But I don't know what that means for next year. I don't know what that means the year after that. We'll talk to Doc Pandia about it today as well, but I think I know what he's going to say, which is that, it's kind of like what you used to say, Steiny. Like, I mean, every hit is another hit, and it ups the likelihood of XYZ.
To me, what's interesting is I think there's 2 things to this. One is the workload and whether you're putting him a little in harm's way, if you could limit it. The other thing is, like, I love when not conventional wisdom, but when you look at something else, like, the Warriors, they're a jump shooting team. Well, actually, they weren't when they won titles. They led the league in dunks and layups. So I was just thinking about Kyle Shanahan, and he's a coach that spreads it around, and they have all these weapons, and they might have the best weapons in the league. I think it's interesting that McCaffrey's been touching the ball basically half the time on offense. Like, I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent, but that to me is interesting, that they really use him and they sprinkle the others. Now, I don't know if that's just a 4-game thing, and maybe they'll try to take away McCaffrey, and they'll go to Debo more and Ayuk. But I just thought it's interesting. He's being used more than any other running back in the league as percentage-wise.
He's the best player right now.
No doubt.
Which I love for running backs.
Yeah, last 2 weeks, each time they've been down one of their major weapons. I consider Debo down last week.
There's no doubt.
They were not gonna use him. He was a decoy. The week before that, Ayuk wasn't in. I think that affects it. I think the game flow affects it. It's kind of like what you said, Goo. Last week, the Cardinals, they could not stop him. So why would you go away from it?
I do think that has something to do with it.
A lot of coaches coach that way. Until you stop it, we're just going to keep doing it.
Yeah, I think Debo was banged up. Ayuk missed the game. And even Mitchell's been hurt, kind of banged up, where he hasn't been able to take as many carries from McCaffrey. I just thought it was kind of interesting. You might not.
Yeah, I do. I think it's one of the. There's two dynamics at once. Would you love Christian to be sure to be fresh toward the end of the year? Would you love other guys to be ready? That's all true.
But if they thought that was a worry, wouldn't they be doing something different?
I do think there's a dynamic where 49er fans are really short right now on things to worry about.
Wow.
And so we have decided that we're worried about football players getting hit.
You know how blessed you are for that to be on the to-do list?
There's no way for the Niners to play and for the guys to not get hit.
But
someone might get hurt. It's really true. I don't know what to do about it.
And I think every fan base is the same in that regard. Philadelphia Eagle fans they know they're Jalen Hurts injury away from
every team
not being able to contend.
Right.
And it's kind of it's a peripheral part of being a fan of football that any one game it can all come apart. Like your season, gone.
Especially with this player, and he's getting 24 carries and touches per game right now, and you know that he's the real difference maker. And if you lose him, it's going to be more impactful than losing any other player on your offense.
Yeah.
Can I respond to that? Because I just want to remind 49er fans, I'm all in. Last time a non-quarterback got MVP was 2012 Adrian Peterson.
AP?
Okay?
Yeah, what a year he had.
This is trending that way for McCaffrey. Like, you could give it to him. Nobody would be surprised.
Yeah, quarter pole, he's
But
the
I
leader.
guess I'm going back to Kyle to remind people he was stellar before in regard to creating offense and play design. They were still exotic before McCaffrey, and that's why they got to the Super Bowl, and that's why it was the invention of Deebo Samuel. And I feel like now people aren't forgetting because they're all in McCaffrey mania, and I'm a part of it. But Kyle is almost like, hold my beer, guys. I can do it without McCaffrey, too, because I've done it. And I took Raggedy, I'm calling him Raggedy because I think he could have played now after listening to Jimmy Ward, to a Super Bowl. So that's just how creative this dude is, Kyle, because I feel like now Kyle's getting credit taken away from him because it's McCaffrey, but Kyle had this exotic scheme. Knew Ayuk was going to be what he was before McCaffrey.
He could have played.
I just want to remind people.
He could have played.
You think so?
Would you have played? Would you have played, Daryl?
Give him the boss analogy.
No chance, I would not.
Did
you bring up MVP?
I don't care.
Okay. But give him the boss analogy when you said when you got a bad boss.
Yeah, if you don't
I
have
heard
a great
his analogy. It didn't hold water.
Hey, Dibs, I would play.
No, what was the
Jimmy
analogy?
Ward went on Richard Sherman.
No, I heard that. I heard that.
No, the analogy was a sports talk radio analogy. So, the analogy would be is if you went out and spoke on the microphone, you might lose your voice forever. And that's what Jimmy was looking at. Do I not play and get a huge bag knowing that I'm going to be healthy, or do I risk injury and play for a guy that I don't respect?
But what about the other 53, the guys that you played, the brothers?
It's a business.
Totally, it's a business.
You asked me, Willard, if I were
business.
Jimmy, I would have played and suited up. And I could have got a chance to go to another Super Bowl.
Well, first of all, he never thought.
This is tough.
He was smiling on the sideline.
Grinning ear to ear.
But I'm uncomfortable with Jimmy Ward goes on Richard Sherman's podcast, and now we've decided we know what Jimmy's leg felt like.
I hope you know I said that.
Kawhi Leonard is not a Spur because one of his teammates decided he knows what he feels like.
Tony Parker.
That's tough. So for me, full stop there, number one. But if we want to go into a hypothetical conversation over if Jimmy sort of kind of could have played, should he have suited up? I think that there is a very fair answer that we romanticize. Be there for your boys. Be there because you got all the way here. you are on a sideline for a team that has spent 2 years trying to get rid of you, and you have a contract and a future in front of you. And a year earlier, this exact scenario ruined everything.
And they had him on the side.
Ruined everything. And so now you're asking, as an individual, are you willing to go risk that again? I don't think that makes Jimmy a blank, a you-know-what, for not having a uniform on, especially without knowing like what that felt like. I mean physically, not mentally. I have no idea what the foot felt like.
Yeah, and if he thought he was 80%, then it's a no. If he said I'm basically healthy, but I still am, I'm not fully recovered, I wouldn't play either.
For who? For what?
Do you want to know what? Okay, my take when I first heard that, Jimmy Ward's out of line.
Oh no, totally.
Jimmy
you ain't
Ward,
a doctor, man.
Jimmy Ward, you are out of line.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
For saying I thought Jimmy could play.
If Jimmy sent him a cuss text, I would understand. I would like, dude, who the F? You know what you're saying? But Dibs, you're telling me if you forget that, you wouldn't have went out there for next year with a chance to go to a Super Bowl and right the wrong? Or just revenge the loss that you had in 19?
Right. For a team that has been trying to get rid of me for the better part of 2 or 3 years. And so if he's not, and whatever, 80%, maybe he's 72%, whatever he is, he's not under contract for the next year. And they've done everything they could to get rid of you over the past 2 years. They drafted your replacement. They traded up to draft your replacement. And they put you on the kiddie field, and you said see ya.
But you still were the start after it was your thing. You got hurt. We got past that. Okay, if you're still holding ill will for that, don't ever come back and play. But he came back and had the job, and then he got hurt. Okay, so I'm just saying if it was like that, Dibs, that Jimmy would have been like, I'm out of here. I ain't playing it at all. But to up in a chance to go to a Super Bowl, I got to believe if he could have played and suited up, he would have suited up.
I mean, are you even looking at it that way? You're going to be QB 2 or 3. It's not like, hey, Jimmy, do you want to come take us to the Super Bowl? It's, hey, Jimmy, do you want to come stand on the sideline and we can throw up a bat signal if we're in trouble? And
you bail us out.
You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. I know athletes will never say this out loud, but if you contribute to a championship versus just be on a ride on a championship team, those are not the same thing. The example that forever changed my opinion on this was looking into Mitch Richmond's eyes in the locker room as the Lakers won a title in New Jersey, and Mitch got nothing outside of garbage time the whole year. And like you ask Mitch Richmond if you think he won a ring. I mean, he's like, wow.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy said weird things were going on in San Francisco. That's weird if you could dress Jimmy and you didn't.
Jimmy signed a 3-year, $67.5 million deal to join
How much
the
guaranteed?
Raiders. Probably like 25 or 30. But point being, if he goes out and plays and gets re-injured, does he get that deal? No, he doesn't.
Wow. So ruins the whole thing.
It's a business.
All righty. Well, you guys got, I see you got Peter King at
Peter King.
15.
And I want to mention this real quick because the Jimmy Ward sound that you guys have been playing all day, I've had the same question all day because it starts in the middle of a conversation. It starts with Jimmy Ward going, I think there was some of that with Jimmy G, too. And I keep asking every time I hear it, what are they, some of what? What did you say before that conversation started? Well, the great Mark Grandy has got the full commentary, which we will have.
We'll be listening.
All righty, gentlemen.